This is a demonstration of the Groups and Brackets Tournament Builder. This is going to show how I set up a tracking for the 2014 Georgia-Alabama border battle. First, I entered the team or the tournament name. I've already entered the locations. All games were held at the Wire Road Complex near Auburn, and sponsored by the Auburn men's and women's soccer program. The divisions, there was a boys division and a girls division, both varsity. I'm matching the colors they used in the schedule that they sent out. Okay, the teams are the interesting part, or at least the way the brackets were set up. They had 12 teams in each division, and they alternated between a Georgia team and a Alabama team. So teams 1 and 3 were Georgia, teams 2 and 4 were Alabama, and so forth. Now there's several ways to set this up. I made a video earlier that demonstrated one of them, but I realized that it did not match what they used at the tournament. And on that one, I set up a single 12-team bracket, and this is what it would look like if 12 teams were in a single group and they all played the other teams in the group. So there's 66 games, and it's not really very practical. We can also add a clear or a none parameter to that, and we just have an empty schedule with no game scheduled. To set it up so that each team plays the teams on either side of it, all we need to do is go down and click make a diagonal like that. Now this shows 11 games. What we're missing here is that this A1 is only getting one game, and that's because to make it all symmetrical we need to click that, and it shows that A12 and A1 play. Now the difference between this and the schedule, well, I'll get to that. This number here at the bottom is the number of games each team played. You can hover over it and see what the team name is, either at the bottom or the top of the column, or the front or the end of the row. And if we save that, you can see what the schedule looks like here. Now, this is the matches that are defined. It does not attach any field or time to the match. Now, this was not what was used on the tournament. Now, I'll go back to the teams, and we have 12 teams there. I'm going to add group designators for B and C, and then save that and skip over back to the matches, and down here we have U19B, A4, B4, C4. This is what it would look like if we had 3 4-team groups and they all played the other teams in the group. Now this is not what was done at the schedule, because Alabama teams did not play Alabama teams and Georgia teams did not play Georgia teams. To get that match, we click on A1, A3 to deschedule it or unschedule it, and A2, A4. And that's essentially what the schedule of the 2014 Georgia-Alabama border battle looked like. Now, over here we see that Team A1, and we can see what team that is, Pacelli, is on the left side of 2 games, and C4 here, or actually A4 for that matter, is on the right side. If we want to balance those out, we can click the light colored square and it switches the order. Previously A1 v A4 was scheduled, now A4 v A1 is scheduled. We do that for all 3 groups and hit save. And the difference here is that previously A1 and A12 were playing, and now A1 and A4 are down here. Now, I took a different approach to the girls division. This is not what was used on the tournament. Like the boys tournament, they had 12 teams, and they interleaved them the same way as the boys and used a similar schedule. I'm showing a different approach here. Not necessarily better, but different. In this, I've set up 6 Georgia teams in Group A and 6 Alabama teams in Group B. So we hit save on that and then jump to the matches. And if we come down here and look under the division params, it has U19G A6B6. We click that. This is what it would look like if all the teams played the other teams in the group, which defeats the purpose of this event completely, because Alabama and Georgia teams would not play each other. We unclick the intergroup equal single elimination and then enter none in there, and we have no games are scheduled at this point. And in here we can essentially, what we want to do is A1 plays B1 and B2, and A2 plays B1 and B2. There's several ways to do this. I'm just going to click up here to get started. And then down here to balance the left and right sides. I'm doing a screen capture here, so I've got a slightly smaller screen. This would be a little easier if I had a bigger window. But there we have all the matches defined. If we do a save here, we can look down here and see that the Georgia teams are on the left side of the game, or the match, on the first 6 games, and the Alabama team on the left side for the next 6. At this point, the SEC button is for single elimination consolation games, which there aren't any here. Game slots is used to set when the games will be played, when and where. And on this particular tournament, they were played 2:28 from 5 to 8, and those are start times, not overall playing times. And 3-1, 9 to 12. The star there is all the fields that I've defined so far. I could also put F1, F2, F3, F4, your equivalent. And here we see the game slots. We've got 12 game slots on Friday and 12 on Saturday. Then we hit assign, and here we have the game slots on the right in a time proportional format and the matches on the left, and we just drag over to the game slots. If you hover over a match, it shows the teams that are associated with those IDs. So C1, C2 are Brookwood and Grissom. And here, this is Gax versus Mountain Brook. I don't know how that's pronounced in Georgia, whether they say Gax or spell it out. Now there we've got the Friday games all scheduled, so we come down and do the Saturday. Now this is not necessarily exactly the same schedule that was used in the tournament, but it's pretty close and it is equivalent. The same teams play each other. They may play at a slightly different time. Now if you do need to change a time, there's a couple of ways to do it. You can change the way the team mapping, so you can switch in the team section, you can switch places with two teams and the IDs will be switched so they'll play in a different spot, or you can do a drag and drop here. I just moved up B4 and A4 to the 9 o'clock spot and so forth. Now then we hit save. At this point we've entered all the tournament information, including color codes, and everything's in the system. To use it, hit export, and these switches here are used to control how the information that we've entered is displayed in this tournament definition. Right now we're using somewhat of a minimal team ID section, and we're using the grouped team IDs in the schedule there. We can also change it to more verbose format on the team IDs and use the actual team name on the schedule. Now in that situation it is useful to include the division, because many of these schools have teams in both the men's and women's divisions, so to avoid confusion you specify the division as well. When I set those and hit generate TD, you can see a longer format here, which C20 is spelled out and so forth. And down here we have the time, the location, the division, and the teams. So this information can be pulled out and used in a spreadsheet or a word processor document or whatever. If you take the full location off, it'll use the F1 notation here, although when it shows up on the web page the Wire Road schedule will show up. Now in this event, games were originally scheduled on Wire Road 1, 2, 3, and 4 if I remember correctly. The games on Field 1 were switched to 7, which can be done as simply as that, and the boys' games were played on 4 and 7, and I assigned them to F1 and F2, so I'm going to switch that to 4, and then this to 2. And we've just changed the mapping between F1, F2, and F3 and F4 to specific fields. If we do save locations and then hit export again and look down at our schedule, you will see Wire Road 7, 4, 3, and 2 here, and it's reflected that, well, let me turn the full location flag on, and you can see it down in the schedule here as well. Now, even if this is unselected, when we use the tournament definition, now what this does is it pulls in that description of the tournament and it configures the website based on that information, and we just did that. This is updating the group standings to match what we just uploaded, and there's our schedule. We're ready to go. Reporting games is as simple as clicking on game number, whatever, and entering the results. If you make a mistake, you just enter correct it. Like that. Now you will see here that we're showing group standings. This wasn't a tournament and there were no standings. To deal with that, it's real simple. We come into the define ranking criteria page. This is normally not accessible to unauthorized people, but I have enabled it for this demo. And you just click no points, hide group ranking, and then set criteria. Then when we go back to the page, we see no standings at all. The game results are still there and people are interested in these, so it's nice to get them online so people can check the results of the games. And I'm not going to complete all the schedule, but essentially, since we're not keeping standings, that's the result is over here. Now there is a option in now let's see. I push the print button there. If you're going to print this out for something else, you probably don't want the header, so it just clears all that. This navigation bar here allows you to look at girls' games or boys' games or games at a particular field. It normally is generated and then customized to look a little better. I would probably put this in a two-dimensional array with 2 and 3 on one side, possibly color-coded with girls and so forth. It's not hard, but it's not done automatically either. The preferences here, you can pick a time versus location schedule. I'll just set all these things. Okay, there's our time versus location schedule, and those scores are showing there. That's an option to display it. It's not quite as flexible as having a simple list, so I generally don't use it. This opponent map here just shows which teams are playing which teams, and we already know pretty well what that is based on the assign grid that was used to set up the tournament. But if you want to check later what the results are of the scheduling process, you can look here and see what they were.